Martha Peet was born in an igloo in a community known as Taloyoak, where 4 other families lived. Martha grew up with her parents, who were closely tied to the land. Her parents were nomads and found it difficult to stay in one place for a long time. As a result, she grew up traveling with them by dog sled.
This is a little story about how the Inuit children played games. It's an exciting time for the Inuit children. When the spring comes around, the sun is shining 24 hours a day, and it's daylight, and it gets to be a very exciting time for the children to start getting together and play and go for longer walks, because during the winter it is so cold. We usually just stay in the community during the winter, and we go sliding or we play baseball. But when it's springtime, it is so exciting because we can do more things and we can go places. We can go for longer walks. So in the summertime, the Inuit children pretend to make an igloo by putting rocks in a circle, and we pretend to make a bed area where we pretend to have a kulak, a seal oil lamp, and we use flat rocks with a little dip and pretend we put our seal blubber fat on there on top to burn the kulak, the seal oil lamp. And then we go around finding cans to use as our teacups, to pretend to use them as teacups. And we used them to pretend the bigger tin cans, we pretend they were kettles and pots, and we would haul water, put water in it. And also, we used to catch lemmings because the lemmings are abundant up in Nunavut. We catch a lemming and pretend they were our catch. And we talk like, oh, I caught a caribou. We'd take the lemming, which is known as a mouse down south, but we call it lemming. So we pretend that's our catch, pretend it's a caribou. And then we would go to the lakes and catch little fish on the shores of the lake and pretend they were our fish catch. And then we would fillet them and pretend to dry them. We put them out on the rocks to dry, and they were our dry fish. We would bring little puppies because up in the Arctic, the hunters use huskies to pull the sleds when they're traveling, and there's always lots of puppies around. So we'd bring the puppies, we tie them up and pretend they were our husky dog teams. So these are the kind of games that we played throughout the days during the summer. So we enjoy ourselves doing these things. There were no toys. We had no store where our parents can buy us toys. There were no toys at all. So sometimes our mothers made little dolls for us out of any cloth. And those dolls that were made by our mothers, they were our babies. We'd pack them on our back, But sometimes we take a little puppy and pretend it was our baby. We put the baby on our back, and our mothers would keep reminding us all day, your puppy has to eat, your puppy is hungry, your puppy is gonna pee in your coat. We would take the puppies off our backs, pretend to pack them in our amount, which is a coat that is made to carry the babies. Because throughout the years of my childhood, I remember my mother packing me in her parka on her back, and that's where I slept. And she would do her work. This is when I was very small. And she would pack us children, all her children, as all the other Inuit mothers did. They packed the babies on their backs all day and keep working, and the babies sleep. And then when we wake up from our mother's back, we would be fed, and then my mother would prepare something for us to eat. And usually it is fish. During the winter, it was frozen fish, frozen caribou, and during the summer, she might boil the meat, and we would have cooked caribou meat and cooked caribou. And the fish was our main diet. And sometimes to our little pretend igloo in the summer, we would bring some dry fish from our tent area, and we pretend to have visitors. Children pretend to visit us, and we would eat dry caribou meat. Sometimes our parents would let us bring some tea into our pretend houses, igloo, and we'd played all day long. And then when we finished that playing igloo during the summer, we might go for long walks, and we would put some small rocks on top of one another, and we'd throw rocks at them and see who can hit the rocks and knock them down. So that was another game we played every summer when the rocks, small rocks, are exposed from the snow. And another game we played was we would play hide and seek. There's so many big rocks up in the Arctic, and we would play hide and seek. We would hide behind rocks, and they try to find us. So that was another game we played, but mainly we did a lot of walking, and we'd find little rivers, and go looking for little fish, and we'd catch a little fish using tin cans, old tin cans, and catch them that way. And those little fish in the rivers are trout fish. When they have grown, they would be big trout in the lakes. So at the end of the day, after we catch all our little fish in a tin can, we'd catch the little fish with small tin cans, and we put all our catch of little fish in one big tin can. And we just have fun catching little fish all day long. We were taught to always release them back into the water when we are finished catching little fish along the shores of the lakes. And another thing that we used to catch was look for and catch were small Taloyoak, and that is the sculpin fish. It's when they are grown, they have a big head and they have needles all over them. But when we find them along the shores of the ocean during the summer, we'd collect them into the tin can. And when they're really tiny, their little needles are more like cartilage. So we never got hurt, but we used to catch the little ones. And we used to catch also baby cod, the little cod. We'd look for them under the rocks all day long. We walked along the shores of the ocean, and we'd catch all these little fish all day long. And again, we release them at the end of the day from our big tin can where we caught them all. Sometimes when we get tired of playing, when we're finished playing and we all parted to go home, to eat something and get ready for the night, we would visit some other families. And we visited our friends also, and we'd sit in the house, the igloo or a tent in the summer. The tents were small because the tents were made of caribou skins that were sewn together while they were still wet. And then, after they were all sewn into a shape of a tent, they were dried. And the skin dries, and that was our tent during the summer months, way before the supply ships started coming from the south. Being in a little tent in the summertime, skin tent, we were always encouraged to play outside. So the children spent a lot of time outdoors. And sometimes when we get tired of our hands being in the water after catching little fish all day long, we go berry picking, or we would find other edible plants like leaves and flower petals. We eat them, and some roots, some plants. We go for long walks looking for the roots, and we pull them out and we eat them, we chewed on them. Nowadays, the people who come from the south, when they go up there, they call them Inuit carrots because the roots are deep and it goes way down into the dirt. We'd pull them out and we eat them. Nowadays, a lot of parents, with the convenience of electric stoves, they fry these roots and the children eat them. So there were many, many games that we played in the Arctic when we were kids.
Multicultural is located on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis.